So this project is a Hangman game that fetches a random word, and I use the Pokémon API. So it's Hangémon. So you fetch a Pokemon, and you have to guess what it is by guessing the letters. If it's a wrong letter, it turns red. Right letter turns green and appears. And you get 10 wrong guesses before you lose. I could make it harder by making fewer, but oh, I lost it. And I hung Ash. Too bad. Then I start all over again. So I overcomplicated this because I wanted to get more practice using Redux. So it's actually a React Redux app, but it could have easily just been vanilla JavaScript. That would have made things a lot less complicated, actually. But since this is my second Redux app, the setup was a lot easier. I knew how to connect everything. I got my actions and my reducers all set up, and my components. I even have a separate folder for each component. How professional is that? Yeah. So it was a lot easier to set up. Probably the hardest part of this project was making decisions about just the architecture of the game. So for example, state, what items of state should I manage locally versus globally? I pretty much try to do everything globally because that was the point. I wanted to practice using Redux, right? But even just which logic should be in which component, all that stuff. So yeah, it was, and there were so many different ways that it could have been done that it made things a lot more confusing. And I ended up redoing it a couple of times just based on what would be more efficient. But even so, for example, one thing I redid was I originally used Redux Thunk for the API call, but then that kind of seemed to complicate things. And it works just fine right here, so I put it in here in the component. Oh, and if you notice, I left a little console log in there. So if you know how to open up the console, you can cheat and see the name. Oh yeah, see, here we go, electrode, but no cheating. Let's see, and there are some things that I would have done differently the next time around. For example, each of these buttons really could have been in state, its own component in state with the class name to determine the class name and all that stuff. And I didn't do that. I kind of jerry-rigged something together because it was how I knew how to do it. But having them all in state would have made, for example, resetting a lot simpler. So here I had to actually get element by ID, which I know you don't do in React necessarily, but to remove the class name. But if I had put it in state, I would have just needed to reset, and it would have been fine. So I wasn't going for perfection in this one, just progress. Not perfection, progress, right? And I learned a lot in this project, and it works. I'll do things differently the next time around based on what I learned. Another thing I kind of felt like I jerry-rigged together was, dealing with state in Redux. State, you don't get the new state until the next time around. So in this function, I click a button and then I set the current guess. And then I'm supposed to see if, check if the game has been lost or won. But the problem I was running into, here it is down here, the problem I was running into is that the previous state was being passed to those functions instead of the next state. So it was one click behind when the game should have ended. So that's another thing I kind of jerry rigged just by all I did was pass in as a parameter the wrong guesses, right guesses plus guess letter, just to basically simulate what the next state was going to look like for the function, so it could figure out if the game was supposed to end. Anyway, so yes, it complicated things to use Redux, but I learned a lot. Especially about Redux dev tools. I started out by using Redux Logger, which is also very cool middleware. But I mean, check this out. Redux dev tools are magical. You can look at Redux, and it tells you what the action was. See, so it must have been a wrong guess, V. And the state, the new state, and you get the wrong guesses array here, all the wrong guesses I've made, right guesses array, game over false, game started true, and then you get the difference between the old state and the new state. So it's just the letter V and the wrong guesses. And anyway, that's awesome. So Hangémon, it's a success. It's actually fun to play. Like my kids play it and they're like, "Whoa, this is the best game you've made so far." I'm like, they'll just get better and better. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And please, I mean, you can look at my code and give me feedback. I'm always looking to improve. So any feedback is appreciated.